Imagine a world where money isn't controlled by banks, governments, or borders. A currency born from computer code and belief alone. A currency that has sparked revolutions, controversies, and fortunes, all without a single coin you can hold. This is Bitcoin, a mysterious digital creation that challenged everything we thought we knew about money. But what is Bitcoin, really? How did a small idea in an online forum grow into a global phenomenon worth billions? And why does it have the power to inspire, divide, and disrupt entire industries? Today, we dive into the rise of Bitcoin, the digital currency that dared to challenge the traditional world of finance. Before we begin this journey into one of the most groundbreaking stories of our time, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives like this. Now, buckle up, because this story is anything but ordinary. The year was 2008, and a storm was brewing in the financial world. Banks were collapsing, people were losing their homes, and a wave of fear swept across the globe. People began to question the system that controlled their money, a system that seemed to benefit the few at the top and leave everyone else struggling. As people watched their life savings disappear, trust in traditional banks faded. The system was broken, and for many, it felt like there was no hope. But in the darkness, a small spark of an idea was forming, a new kind of currency, free from the control of banks and governments. This idea would soon have a name, Bitcoin. But before it could be born, it needed a creator, someone with a vision and the skills to bring it to life. Enter a mysterious figure, someone who would go by the name Satoshi Nakamoto. In the digital world, anyone can be anyone. So when an unknown figure named Satoshi Nakamoto appeared in 2008, no one knew if this was a man, a woman, a group, or even a government. What they did know was that Satoshi had something revolutionary to share. Satoshi posted a white paper online describing a new kind of currency. This currency wouldn't need a bank, it wouldn't need a middleman, it would be digital, decentralized, and trustless. People could send money directly to each other without interference. This mysterious figure became the ghost that haunted the traditional financial system. Satoshi's white paper outlined a vision that sounded like science fiction, but in time, it would become one of the most important documents in modern finance. On January 3, 2009, the world changed, though almost no one knew it. Satoshi Nakamoto mined the very first Bitcoin block. It was called the Genesis block, the beginning of Bitcoin's story. This block contained a hidden message from Satoshi, a statement of protest. The Times 03 Jan 2009, Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. This message wasn't just a headline from that day's newspaper. It was a symbol of rebellion. Bitcoin was born out of frustration, a way to escape the control of traditional banks. In the eyes of Bitcoin's creator, the financial system had failed, and it was time for something new. This first block created 50 Bitcoins, but they weren't just coins. They were part of a bigger idea, a movement toward financial freedom that would soon grow beyond anyone's expectations. Behind every Bitcoin is the blockchain, the technology that makes it all work. Imagine a ledger, like a giant book that records every single transaction. But this book isn't kept in one place. It's spread across thousands of computers worldwide. Every transaction is added as a new block in the chain, creating a record that's permanent and nearly impossible to alter. This transparency was a radical idea. No one person or organization had control over it. The blockchain was revolutionary because it made trust optional. Instead of trusting a bank, people could trust the code, the network, and the community. It was a bold step, and it set Bitcoin apart from any currency the world had seen. To keep the blockchain secure, Bitcoin needed people to maintain it. Enter the miners, individuals, and groups using their computers to verify transactions. These miners would race to solve complex puzzles, and whoever solved it first would earn new Bitcoins. Mining became the heart of Bitcoin's network, and the reward of new Bitcoins was the incentive. It was a system built on mathematics and energy, one that promised fair rewards for fair work. Anyone with the right tools could participate. As more miners joined, Bitcoin's network grew stronger and more secure. The more people that believed in Bitcoin, the more it grew. A digital community with no central authority, built on a foundation of trust and technology. At first, Bitcoin had no real value. It was just a digital experiment with only a small group of believers. But in 2010, something extraordinary happened. A programmer named Laszlo Hanyecz made the first ever purchase using Bitcoin. Laszlo offered 10,000 Bitcoins in exchange for 2 pizzas. This wasn't just a craving for pizza. It was a groundbreaking moment. Bitcoin had made the leap from an idea to a currency with actual value. To this day, that transaction is legendary. People still celebrate Bitcoin pizza Pizza Day, a reminder of a time when 10,000 bitcoins could buy 2 pizzas. Today, those same bitcoins would be worth millions. Bitcoin's first believers were tech enthusiasts, people who saw it as a digital curiosity. But as word spread, more people became interested. Forums sprang up, online communities grew, and Bitcoin began to feel less like an experiment and more like a movement. Early adopters saw Bitcoin as more than just money. They saw it as a way to escape the traditional financial system. It became a symbol of freedom, a way to take control of one's own wealth without interference from banks or governments. These early believers didn't know if Bitcoin would last, but they were willing to take a chance, and their faith would soon be rewarded as Bitcoin's value started to rise. As Bitcoin grew, it attracted a different kind of attention. In 2011, a hidden online marketplace appeared on the dark web, a place where anonymity ruled. This marketplace was called the Silk Road, and its currency of choice? Bitcoin. The Silk Road allowed users to buy almost anything: drugs, weapons, fake identities. Bitcoin's anonymous nature made it perfect for these transactions. It was a double-edged sword. While it gave users privacy, it also attracted illegal activities. For law enforcement, the Silk Road was a nightmare, a place where criminals could operate without leaving a trace. And for Bitcoin, it was a mixed blessing, giving it fame but also a reputation as the currency of crime. Bitcoin's connection to the Silk Road didn't stop its rise. By 2013, Bitcoin had gone from being worth pennies to over $1,000 per coin. This meteoric rise captured the attention of investors, and suddenly, Bitcoin was on the radar of mainstream finance. The idea of digital gold started to take hold. People saw Bitcoin as a new kind of asset, something valuable and rare. And just like gold, it wasn't controlled by any government or bank. It was something that could stand on its own. As Bitcoin's value surged, so did the excitement. People believed they had discovered the future of money, a way to store value that could survive any financial crisis. In October 2013, the FBI took down the Silk Road. Its founder, Ross Ulbricht, was arrested, and the website was shut down. This marked a significant turning point in Bitcoin's story. While the Silk Road gave Bitcoin infamy, it also cast a shadow over it. Many believed that the currency would crash without the Silk Road, but something unexpected happened. Bitcoin didn't die, it kept going. This moment proved that Bitcoin could survive outside the world of crime. It showed the world that Bitcoin wasn't just a tool for criminals. It was resilient and had real staying power. After the fall of the Silk Road, many expected Bitcoin to fade into obscurity, but instead, Bitcoin survived. The community of believers continued to grow, and the currency's value showed resilience. What people thought would be the end of Bitcoin was only a new beginning. With every wave of doubt, Bitcoin seemed to grow stronger. People began to realize that Bitcoin wasn't just a fad. It was a movement, an idea that had taken on a life of its own. And for its supporters, this survival was proof that Bitcoin was built to last. As governments and banks watched in surprise, Bitcoin's influence began to seep into the mainstream. More people saw it as a way to escape the rules of traditional finance, a glimpse into a future where money could truly be free. As Bitcoin's popularity grew, other developers saw its success and wanted to create their own digital currencies. Soon, new cryptocurrencies started popping up, each one with a different purpose, technology, or vision. Some currencies, like Ethereum, brought innovation with smart contracts, which allowed transactions with specific conditions to be executed on the blockchain. Others were more experimental or created as jokes, like Dogecoin. But together, they formed an entire cryptocurrency market, with Bitcoin at its helm. Bitcoin had set the stage, and now a whole new financial ecosystem was emerging. It was the dawn of an industry, and the traditional finance world could no longer ignore it. In 2014, a major scandal hit the world of Bitcoin. Mt. Gox, one of the largest Bitcoin exchanges at the time, suddenly announced it had lost over 850,000 Bitcoins due to a hack. This was a devastating blow, as these coins were worth hundreds of millions of dollars. For thousands of Bitcoin holders, their investments vanished overnight. Trust in Bitcoin exchanges wavered, and once again, the world questioned the safety and legitimacy of digital currency. But Bitcoin's story had already proven it was more than just one exchange. Despite the crash, despite the scandal, the currency survived. Mt. Gox was gone, but Bitcoin lived on, and each time it survived, its legend grew. By 2015, Bitcoin was no longer just for tech enthusiasts and early adopters. It was becoming a household name. News outlets started covering Bitcoin more frequently, and companies began to see its potential. Some businesses started accepting Bitcoin as a form of payment. It became possible to buy coffee, flights, and even cars with Bitcoin. The geek currency was now crossing into everyday life, opening a door for anyone to join the revolution. The public's curiosity grew. What was Bitcoin, and why did it attract such strong believers? For many, it was more than just an investment. It was a chance to take part in a world-changing technology. Bitcoin's journey took a new turn when the giants of Wall Street took notice. Hedge funds, investment firms, and financial analysts began to discuss Bitcoin as a serious serious asset. Skepticism was still high, but the financial world started to view Bitcoin as a new kind of digital gold. Some called it a bubble, warning that Bitcoin's price was too volatile, too risky, but others saw it as a way to hedge against economic uncertainty. Bitcoin became known as an asset class of its own, and Wall Street's interest brought a new level of legitimacy. In a world where trust in banks was fragile, Bitcoin offered something that couldn't be controlled or inflated. To some, it was a safe haven. To others, it was the ultimate risk. In 2017, Bitcoin's price skyrocketed. From under $1,000 at the beginning of the year, it surged to nearly $20,000 by December. The world watched in awe, and Bitcoin made headlines around the globe. Every day people began to invest, hoping to become millionaires overnight. For many, it felt like the modern-day gold rush. Bitcoin wasn't just a currency anymore. It was a phenomenon, capturing the public's imagination. But with the rise came the warning signs. Some experts predicted a massive crash, saying Bitcoin's rise was unsustainable. But for the believers, it was proof that Bitcoin was on its way to becoming the future of money. By early 2018, the warnings came true. Bitcoin's price plummeted, falling from its peak of $20,000 to under $6,000 in a matter of months. Panic swept through the market as people watched their fortunes evaporate. This crash led many to declare Bitcoin dead, calling it a bubble that had finally burst. The skeptics felt validated, and the media proclaimed that Bitcoin's time was over. But for the Bitcoin faithful, this was just another challenge. They saw it as a temporary setback, a test of their belief in the future of digital money. As Bitcoin's influence grew, governments around the world began to take action. Some welcomed it, while others saw it as a threat. Countries like China imposed strict regulations, while others drafted laws to tax and control cryptocurrency. Bitcoin's promise of independence came under scrutiny. Could a currency exist without control, without oversight? For some governments, the answer was no. But Bitcoin's decentralized nature made it difficult to regulate completely. As governments debated how to handle it, Bitcoin continued to evolve. It was a currency that couldn't be contained, and each attempt at control only seemed to strengthen its reputation as a rebellious force. In 2020, something significant happened. Large institutions, from tech companies to investment firms, began adding Bitcoin to their balance sheets. Companies like MicroStrategy and Tesla openly invested in Bitcoin, signaling that this digital currency was more than just a speculative asset. This institutional interest was a turning point. It showed that Bitcoin had matured into a legitimate store of value. Suddenly, Bitcoin was more than just a curiosity for retail investors. It was an asset for the giants of finance. The trust of these institutions brought a new sense of stability and credibility to Bitcoin. For many, this was the validation they'd been waiting for. In 2021, the world witnessed a historic moment. El Salvador became the first country to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. This bold move turned the small Central American nation into a global leader in the cryptocurrency space. For El Salvador, Bitcoin offered an opportunity to bring financial inclusion to those without access to traditional banks. It also put the country on the world map as a pioneer, embracing a currency that most governments were still cautious about. This decision made waves as other nations began to consider similar paths. Bitcoin was no longer just a tool for investors. It was becoming a national currency, a symbol of financial independence on a grand scale. With Bitcoin's rise came a new challenge: environmental impact. Mining Bitcoin required immense computing power, which consumed a massive amount of electricity. This raised concerns about Bitcoin's sustainability in an age where climate change was a pressing issue. Critics argued that Bitcoin's energy consumption made it harmful to the planet, but the community responded with initiatives to explore renewable energy sources, aiming to make Bitcoin mining greener and more sustainable. This environmental debate became a crucial part of Bitcoin's story. Could Bitcoin grow without harming the planet, or was it doomed to be a symbol of excess in a world striving for sustainability? As global economies faced rising inflation, Bitcoin took on a new role. Unlike traditional currencies, Bitcoin's supply was limited to 21 million coins, making it a potential hedge against inflation. For some, Bitcoin was the ultimate form of hard money, a digital gold that could protect wealth when the value of fiat currencies declined. This narrative attracted a new wave of investors who saw Bitcoin as a safeguard in uncertain economic times. Bitcoin's role as an inflation hedge became one of its strongest selling points, drawing in people who wanted to protect their assets in an increasingly volatile world. Over the years, Bitcoin has inspired a diverse global community. From developers and miners to everyday people and advocates, Bitcoin believers come from all walks of life, united by a shared vision of financial freedom and independence. Bitcoin meetups, conferences, and forums became places where people from different countries could connect, share ideas, and build the future of this new financial world. For them, Bitcoin wasn't just a currency, it was a movement, a way to reshape reshaped society. This global community became Bitcoin's true power. Together, they defended it against skeptics, worked to improve its technology, and spread its message of freedom. Bitcoin's story was no longer just about the currency. It was about the people who believed in it. In a world increasingly moving online, Bitcoin took on a new significance. The digital economy was growing, and Bitcoin represented a currency built specifically for this new age, a currency that could be sent across borders in seconds without intermediaries. Unlike traditional banking systems, Bitcoin didn't require identification, permission, or lengthy processes. For people in countries with unstable economies or restrictive financial systems, Bitcoin offered a new way to participate in the global economy. As the world transitioned into a more digital, interconnected era, Bitcoin was positioned as a currency that belonged to the people, not to governments or corporations. It became a beacon of what money could be in the age of the internet. Today, Bitcoin stands at a crossroads. It has endured booms, busts, scandals, and regulation, yet it continues to thrive. Some see it as a revolution that will one day replace traditional money, while others believe it will evolve to coexist with current financial systems. Experts debate its future. Will Bitcoin become a stable, widely accepted form of digital gold, or will it fade as new technologies emerge? And what about the potential for even more widespread adoption? As central banks consider creating digital currencies of their own, Bitcoin's role in the financial landscape remains uncertain. But one thing is clear: Bitcoin has left a permanent mark on the world. It has shown us a new way to think about money, about freedom, and about power. And as its story continues to unfold, it reminds us that sometimes the biggest changes come from the most unlikely places. Bitcoin has transformed from an obscure digital experiment into a phenomenon that has challenged governments, banks, and institutions. It has created wealth, sparked debates, and started revolutions in finance. But beyond the numbers and headlines, Bitcoin represents an idea that cannot be erased. As we look to the future, Bitcoin's legacy will remain: a digital currency born from frustration with the financial system, embraced by a global community, and defended against all odds. Whether Bitcoin evolves or revolutionizes, its story is now etched in history. So, as we stand on the edge of a new financial era, we're left with one question: what comes next? Only time will tell, but the rise of Bitcoin has shown us one thing: change is inevitable, and sometimes it starts with a single spark. Thank you for joining us on this journey through Bitcoin's rise and influence. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of digital currency, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We have more stories about the future of finance, technology, and the forces that shape our world. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and remember, the future is what we make of it.